Did you think deal sourcing would be easy? I did. I sold over 80 deals last year and generated hundreds of thousands of pounds for my business, but it was a grind. I wish I'd known how to do it smarter. So to help you make growing your property business 10 times easier, there are 15 things I learned that will help you get your deal sourcing business generating more money quicker. Lesson number 1. When I first started, I spent months trying to sell property deals and I got nowhere. I thought what I would find were great opportunities, send them out to investors and hear nothing back. No interest, no feedback, just silence. And honestly, I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong. It wasn't until I started connecting with other deal sources that things finally started to click. One question somebody asked me completely flipped my thinking. How can you sell a deal if you don't know who the buyer is? That hit quite hard because I'd always been told, get the deal first. If it's good, the buyers will come. And that's true. In fact, that's how I've built my entire business. But what I didn't realize, and it seems so obvious now looking back on it, is that it's not about what I think is a good deal. It's about what the investor wants. That shift took me from not getting any responses to closing my first deal, which is the hardest thing to do. Not by working harder, but by working smarter with others. So lesson number 1 is this: you'll grow 10 times faster when you collaborate. Find people who speak your language, get in the room, ask questions, share wins, and share your losses. Push each other to get better. Lesson number 2. When you start putting offers in with estate agents or vendors, you're going to hear no more times than you care to remember. It's just part of the game. But let's be honest, taking rejection over and over again hurts. We've all been there. At the start, I took every no personally. Every rejection knocked my confidence and it made me question if I was even cut out to do this. But after a while, I started realizing something quite important. Most of the deals I've done over the last few years didn't happen on my first try. They happened later down the line after that initial no. And that's when it clicked. A no doesn't mean no, never. It means no, not right now, mate. Once I understood that, I stopped seeing rejection as a failure and started seeing it as timing. So when someone now says no, just think, cool, I'll see you next week. And funnily enough, those same people who say no, they're often the ones who come back saying yes months later. So lesson number 2 is no is not forever. It's just no, not right now. Now that you know no doesn't mean never, here's lesson number 3, what to actually do about it. Follow up. Because honestly, I've missed out on more deals than I can count simply because I didn't chase properly. When you hear no, your instinct is to back off. And that's exactly when you should lean in politely, consistently, with a plan. Once I started diarizing my follow-ups, setting reminders, checking in, keeping communications warm, everything changed. Deals that were dead suddenly came back to life when I was least expecting it. And you've probably heard the same from other successful sources. Why do deals happen in the follow-up? Because things happen. Buyers lending falls through, someone gets cold feet, circumstances change, and that's when the vendor needs to move fast and they'll call the one person who stayed in touch. Me or you. I can't remember the last time I closed the deal on the first offer, but I've lost count on how many times someone's ghosted me, then came back weeks later ready to move forward. Really? Lesson number 3 is quite simple. The fortune is in the follow-up. Stay consistent. Make sure the seller knows you're interested every single week. It doesn't take much effort, but it will give you massive results. Lesson number 4. The first deal, it honestly felt impossible. I spent months wondering if I was just wasting my time, if this whole thing even worked. Every call felt like a dead end and every offer was a no. I just wanted to give up. But when it finally happened, when that first deal completed, again, everything changes. The momentum, the confidence, the belief, it all started clicking into place. When you do your first deal, it's like someone's flipped a switch. Your mindset shifts from I hope this works to I know this works. You stop hesitating and you stop acting with certainty. And that's when the magic happens. Deals attract deals. And that's why you see the same sources doing deal after deal after deal over and over again in short periods. They've got in the flow and they've built their pipeline. When that first sourcing fee hits your account, you'll stop thinking maybe this works to, you know what, I can actually potentially replace my job in the next 12 months if I keep consistent, and your confidence will just shoot through the roof. So lesson number 4 is this. First deal changes your mindset and your mindset changes everything. It's so important. And really, that is where your concentration should be, selling deals. This is a huge mistake I made when I first started, and it brings me on to lesson number 5. I wasted so much time, around 2 to 3 months, trying to create my brand, my logos, my websites, business cards, hoodies, and in reality, no one cares. Once I decided enough was enough and actually started concentrating on deals, my credibility and my income went through the roof. And it was nothing to do with my brand. It was all to do with the deals. When you start getting some traction, then spend time on your brand, which actually is really important. So lesson number 5 is this. Don't waste time on branding at the start. Do it later. No one cares apart from your mum, and probably not even her. Lesson 6. Most estate agents have no clue what deal sources actually do. And it's so frustrating because they are literally the gatekeepers or the key holders to every property we want. I see this every single day inside my community, sources banging their heads against the walls because agents just don't get it. But here's where I've got a bit of an unfair advantage. I was one. I founded an estate agency called Appleton Estates. It's a multi-award winning estate agency in South London in 2012. And I ran it for over a decade before selling it in 2023 to fully focus on deal sourcing and growing my own portfolio. So I've been on both sides of the fence, the agent who didn't understand deal sources and the sourcer trying to win them over. When I was running Appleton, sources used to approach me saying, "Have you got any below market value properties?" And honestly, my first reaction was like, "Nah, go away. What are you doing? I'm trying to sell the properties." Until one guy changed that. He sat down with me, handed me a slice of cake, and walked me through how sourcing actually worked and showed me how it would help me, my agency, my pipeline, and my commissions. The result? I ended up selling 32 properties to that one sourcer. Some he bought himself, some he sold on, but every single one earned me money as an estate agent. So here's the secret about estate agents. They don't really care about the vendor's life story. They don't care about the motivation or the equity left in the property. They care about getting paid. So if you can clearly explain how working with you helps them make money and more commission, they'll become your best friend. They honestly will. I get messages from Foxtons, the country's toughest estate agent, with short lease deals all the time. And when you do one deal with them, you gain their trust. Watch how those floodgates open. And that's exactly what happened in my own agency. I can hear you asking, how do you actually talk to agents though? Well, it's not too difficult when you know how, and I'll make an entire video on it. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get notified when I do. Because here's the thing, a vendor might have one property to sell. An estate agent might have 10, 20, or like I had, 30 deals out to give. So if the effort is the same, why wouldn't you build relationships with the people who are holding the keys? I don't know. So lesson number 7 is this: estate agents will be your worst enemy until they're your best friend. Lesson number 8, going direct to vendor can feel like a throw shit at the wall approach. And I get that, because sending direct to vendor letters consistently to random properties literally feels like a waste of money. And in some cases it is. But as you now know, I was once an estate agent and my entire job was to go direct to vendor. I had to get direct to vendor leads. So I did everything I could to get those leads in. That's letters, landlord events, HMO lists, adverts in shop windows, Facebook ads, Google ads. I even had my own daily blog to reel them in. It's still there if you want to see it. And guess what? We were the #1 ranked agency in South Croydon for those new listings for 2 years straight, because I put the effort in and I sold a lot of those properties to people who were smarter than me and leveraged my time and money, called sources and investors. But still, to date, the biggest deal I've done was a direct to vendor, and it landed me £150,000. That was a bloody good month. So lesson number 8 is this: direct to vendor sourcing is slower, but it yields bigger results, and a good sourcer finds deals through agents and direct to vendor. Lesson number 9. This is something that took around 2 months for me to understand, and I wish someone would have just told me this sooner. Trying to list a ton of average deals, hoping that an investor will bite, is almost like saying, I'm trying to make money by taking advantage of a newbie investor. It's just wrong. And more importantly, you will lose your credibility fast. And it's pretty much the reason why sources start trying to sell deals, don't sell any, and then give up. But by focusing on stacked, high quality deals, you become a trusted sourcer. And the same investors will buy over and over again. In fact, that's how I've built my entire business, selling high quality deals to investors who have a lot of respect for us and who are return buyers. So lesson number 9 is this: investors only work with credible sources, and credibility comes from focusing on high quality deals. Lesson 10. I wasted a lot of time pitching the wrong deals to the wrong types of investors. Selling yield or cash flowing deals to a trader who only wants BNV deals is just never gonna work. But once I started learning what each investor's style was and their criteria, I could match deals much faster and close deals more consistently. And because I give these investors' criteria to the guys in my community who can source deals for them, there's a much higher chance of them and me selling deals. So lesson number 10 is this. It's a simple one. Pitch your deals to the right investor. Lesson number 11. When I first started my journey, finding comparables was really difficult. I just couldn't get it. And one of those reasons was I was always fixated on the price that the estate agents had listed. But by shifting my focus from what is that property listed for to why has that property price dropped or why is that property still on the market, I started focusing on vendors' motivation. If a vendor hasn't sold a property in 3 months, they're more motivated than one that's just been listed. If it's been 6 months, the motivation is even more. If it's a year, we've got a potential creative deal on our hands, like a lease option. And if you stack that with a property that needs refurb or has a short lease, you're really onto a winner. So instead of looking at the price as just a number, I was looking at what the price had been doing since that property was first listed. This means I can negotiate better with the estate agents and close deals faster. So lesson number 11, the price listed is almost irrelevant. Vendors' motivation and deal structure matter a lot more. Lesson number 12, I missed a lot of opportunities because I didn't ask the right questions at the start. Well, I didn't really know what to ask, to be honest. As deal sourcers, we're actually trying to solve the vendor's issue. If there's no issue, it's not that easy to get a deal. And by understanding various strategies in the industry, fix and flip, BRRR, assisted sales, vendor finance, rent to rent, title splits, you can start to see how you can actually help the vendor based on their situation. It's like having a toolkit. What I'm trying to say here is this: you need to understand the vendor's situation in order to help. Then you'll know when to push, when to be creative, and when to walk away. So lesson number 12 is understanding multiple deal strategies is vital. But if you're just starting out, focus on mastering a few first. Lesson 13. In some cases, bigger isn't better. Chasing 1 or 2 big deals a year might make you 50 to 100,000 pounds, and it sounds great on paper, but it's probably the worst thing you can do when you're starting out. The chances of those big deals actually completing are pretty slim. Deal sourcing, much like any sales-based business, is a numbers game. You want to do 30 to 40 small deals a year that earn between 2,000 and 5,000 pounds each, because that does 2 important things. 1, it builds consistency, and 2, it builds resilience. If you have 10 deals in a pipeline and you lose 1 or 2, no big deal. If you lose one 50,000 pound deal that you've been working on for a year, well, that's gonna bloody hurt. So lesson number 13 is work on smaller, consistent deals to build steady income. Big deals are exciting, but treat them as bonuses. Lesson number 14. This actually is the second most important lesson that I learned. Trying to do everything myself stopped me from progressing as fast as I should have. What do I mean by that? Sourcing has got a lot of moving parts. If you go solo, you're kind of having to do it all. Finding, negotiating, and packaging the deal, finding and qualifying investors, then selling the deal, then progressing it through solicitors, which is where 1 in 3 deals usually falls through. You're doing all of that alone? Almost impossible. I'm telling you this from experience. So I decided to completely change my business model and start collaborating. In fact, that's all I do now. I collaborate with other deal sources who find the deals, then we sell those to our investors and progress them together. When I first started as a deal sourcer, I would leverage other people's times and networks, which meant I could focus on just one high value task, finding deals. So your day as a sourcer should look like this. Find deals. Then leverage other networks to sell them and progress the deal. How do you find those networks? Links in the description. So lesson number 14 is know when to leverage others and do that from the start. Lesson number 15. I thought I needed to stick to my local area because that's what everyone said. But expanding my reach opened up far more opportunities. And because I'm based in the South, selling BMV or BRR deals down here, it's just harder than it is in the Midlands. It just is. I always recommend starting locally so you understand what strategies work where you are. Rent to rent and rent to SA work great in my area. BRR, fix and flips, work better up in the north, in the Midlands. But here's the truth. You're not the one doing the viewings. You're not the one buying the property. The investor is. So lesson number 15 is you don't have to source in your local area, but you should start there. And I don't source anything in my local area anymore. Here's a bonus lesson for those of you that stuck around. Have you seen that movie Turbo? It's about a small snail that's painfully slow until it gets sucked through a car's turbo system and suddenly it can outpace everything. That's exactly how you need to think about sourcing. At first, you'll feel slow finding, stacking, viewing properties. It feels like nothing's moving. Then a month or two later, the deals start landing, and when they do, you need to move like that turbocharged snail. Fast, super focused, and nothing stopping you. That's how you get deals done, and that's how you make a lot of money in sourcing. If you've enjoyed this video and you want to see more, show your support and hit that subscribe button. And if you want to join a community of hundreds of other deal sources and sell your deals to our investors and learn how to do that, click the link in the description below.